Welcome to Crafty Polyglot, the monthly podcast where language meets creativity. Each month, we sit down with leading voices and innovators in language education, from renowned educators to pioneers shaping the future of multilingual learning. Together, we explore the art, science, and the passion behind mastering languages, uncovering the strategies and stories that inspire learners and educators around the globe. Whether you're a teacher, a student, or simply a language enthusiast, Crafty Polyglot is your gateway to fresh insights, practical tips, and meaningful conversations that celebrate the vibrant world of languages. Join us on this journey, because in every language, there's a new world to discover.
Good morning. I am Dr. Felicia Eybl, moderator for the Crafty Polyglot podcast. Today, I have visiting with us Ms. Marisa Tucker. She is the parent of two language immersion students who were in the German and Chinese Mandarin programs. Welcome, Marisa.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I am so glad that you had the time to join us here today. One could say that your motivation for language immersion was homegrown, as you actually also speak another language other than English. Tell us about your journey with a foreign language and how that influenced your decision with your children.
Well, I was very fortunate that when I was 11 years old, my mother and I moved to Germany for her job with the Department of Defense. And she decided that she could enroll me in the neighborhood German school. So I was taken on basically as a guest student. They gave me a trial period. It was new to that school. And I learned the sink or swim method of immersion, and quite quickly became fluent. And I think in a matter of months, really, until I started feeling comfortable. From that point on, that was 5th grade. In 7th grade in this German school, we had the opportunity to start another language. It's non-immersion. And the options were either Latin or French. And if you choose Latin, you would also do French in 9th grade, which is the route that I chose. And I just really enjoyed those languages, even though German is my only other fluent language. The exposure just really sparked a joy in me, foreign language learning, which I also continued in college with learning Italian and ancient Greek.
Wow. My mother-in-law would say that you must have had a musical ear since you picked up languages easily. Do you think you have a musical ear?
I don't know, but I think after you have one extra, it's much easier to add on.
Absolutely.
Seemingly.
Absolutely. So your son started, middle school language immersion in German, and your daughter started in kindergarten with Chinese Mandarin. What were your expectations for them?
I really didn't have any particular expectations other than that they would have this exposure and be more of a globally minded citizens. Unfortunately, when we moved from Georgia to North Carolina, my son was already entering 6th grade. So the language immersion ship had sailed at that point. He took German, but the other students in his class were kids that were already fluent in French or Japanese at that point. So he was joining kids that had already had that experience. It was, I think, much more difficult for him as he had no particular passion for it. He was doing it because he was, mom said, this is what you're doing. I think he's grateful for it now, what he did learn, the exposure. And he has a moderate understanding of German, but it's nothing like it would have been had he been in an immersion program.
So tell us about Elisa's experience in starting in a language immersion program in Chinese.
Well, she didn't know any different. There was all the other kids there also being spoken to in Chinese all day long, and it was quite rigorous. So I think had she seen a different learning option first, she may have protested. But that was all she knew, and I think she really thrived. So she was one of those kids who was able to focus. I think Chinese can be quite difficult, especially with the writing.
Yes.
You really had to have some focus and fine motor skills for writing the characters. But I think it was the perfect fit for her.
So Elise recently graduated from NYU Shanghai. Tell us about her immersion journey that took her to study at the university in China.
Wow. So she did not initially have an interest in studying abroad. This was, again, perhaps pushed by mom. I had a cousin who went to school at The Hague in the Netherlands. He was born to an American mother and a German father and grew up in Germany. And attending his wedding with Elise, we met all of these friends of his that he had connected with and maintained these connections with around the globe. So he had friends from London and India and Eastern Europe and just these amazing adventures. And I thought, wouldn't that be marvelous if she could do something like that? So we did look briefly at that school. And from that point, I was trying to push her into doing something in college with her Chinese. Yeah. NC State has this fabulous international business dual degree program that they already established in German and in, I believe, Spanish and Italian, and they were just expanding that to Chinese. She had some trepidation about doing that, with 2 years in the U.S. and then 2 years in a Chinese university. And she was not sold on the concept, and she had fallen in love with NYU. I loved New York, and they had some programs that she knew about for Chinese business and also study abroad. When she discovered that they had a full degree granting campus there, she applied for that. That program was accepted. I think the immersion and having already been over there in sixth grade with the exchange program gave her the confidence that it was not so foreign. This was something that she could do. And so off she went and said it was the best decision of her life.
Great.
So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that is so interesting and such a great story that, she just stepped out on faith and on her knowledge of the language and chose to study at the university in Shanghai.
yes, in Shanghai at that point, it really wasn't my decision or her father's decision at all. This was something that she chose, which of course was a lot better than mom trying to send her off to China. And it was an American university. There is American university, but where half the students are Chinese and the other half are from all over the world. So her language skills, just living in China on a daily basis, having to interact with the taxis and restaurants and every aspect of life, and then also having intensive Chinese classes, really took her language skills to the next level, which has just been such a joy to watch.
Right. And so you can see the advantage of being in the language immersion program and how that prepared her for life after high school.
Absolutely. So not just having been in such a rigorous program that set her up to be able to take on these kind of challenges later, but also the comfort of being able to navigate other communities, societies, and being okay with not being comfortable. So it was okay for her to take these risks. I think that program really primed the pump for that.
Yes. That's good. That's good. And also, she met lots of different people from different places and around the world. Yes. And so that gives her a foot up in the world and then being prepared for the world that we live in.
The university's motto, which is a lot like SAIL, is make the world your major. And I really saw that to be true, that the language immersion kids, because their language skills are so advanced and they can converse fluently and comfortably on a whole nother level than someone like my son who just had a class every other day, they really became ambassadors for the U.S. She said people were so surprised overseas that someone would take the time to really learn their language and be passionate about it and the culture, but also gave an opportunity to interact with people on a different level where they really saw that people are the same everywhere, that they have this, genuine want of understanding and experiencing what their culture has to offer. Really, like I said, this type of ambassador.
The cultural part is also important, that people embrace the culture and they see that you are also embracing their culture, and that's important. What advice would you give to parents who are considering a language immersion program for their children?
I would really say, why wouldn't you take this opportunity? Being in a language immersion program doesn't take anything away from the learning that you're already going to have. My husband's parents, when we first told them that we were going to put our daughter in this Chinese immersion program, they had asked, well, will she still know English? And I've had other parents along the road would ask, they would worry about how are they going to read in English? How are they going to excel if they're spending their entire day in this other language? And sure, there might have been a little bit of a delay in her writing skills in English or reading, but within a few years, it all catches up. And so you have this complete extra language, which I think is really cognitively beneficial.
Yes.
That's also leading up to your being able to go out in the world and be comfortable.
Yes.
So there's nothing to lose, only to gain.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. the positives definitely outweigh the negatives. And
Right.
we know of the cognitive advantages of learning a second language.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, thank you, Marisa, for joining us today. It's been a joy to have you with us on the Crafty Polyglot.
Thank you for having me.